Hello, everyone. My name is Paulina Moline. I'm the Assistant Director of Alumni Relations at Teachers College, and I'd like to thank you for joining us today for the Alumni Career Development webinar series featuring Tamar Hoffer and Kerem. The webinar series covers a range of career topics and includes speakers from a variety of backgrounds. The series is co-sponsored by the TC Office of Career Services and the Office of Alumni Relations. Videos of past webinars are available on our website at www.tc.edu/alumni/career webinars. We'll be sharing that link with you in our follow-up message after the webinar. Today, alumni Tamar Hoffer and Kerem present Your Career Brand, Developing Your Career Persona Through Social Media and in Person. Tamar Hoffer is the Director of Career Placement within the Department of Industrial Engineering and Operations Research at Columbia University. She specializes in working with graduate students within the MS in Financial Engineering program and collaborating with employers within financial services. Prior to joining the IEOR department at Columbia, Tamar worked in human resources in a variety of industries, including investment banking. Tamar received her undergraduate degree in psychology from Brandeis University, her Master of Arts in Social Organizational Psychology from Teachers College, Columbia University, and a PhD in Organizational Psychology from Hofstra University. Her doctoral research focused on recruitment and social media. Kerem is a career coach and change management consultant in Silicon Valley. She received her MA in Organizational Psychology from Teachers College, Columbia University, and her BA in Psychology and International Studies from SUNY Binghamton University. Kerem works with her clients to develop their interpersonal business skills and create action plans to secure a job. Prior to her work as an independent consultant, Kerem worked at a variety of companies, including PepsiCo, Martha Stewart Living, and Sony Music Entertainment. Welcome, Tamar and Kerem.
Thank you, Paulina. This is Karen. I'm going to kick it off first. First of all, and I'm going to speak on behalf of Tamar. We are really excited to be here today. We have such fond memories of our time at TC, especially the twinkling lights come Thanksgiving, Christmas time. We always make sure to take pictures of that and go and visit. So we're really excited to be here today and help our fellow alumni through some career challenges that they may be facing in their lives right now. So to kick it off, hi everybody. My name is Kerem. As Paulina mentioned, I am an independent career coach and change management consultant, and I currently live in the Bay Area. I have chosen this career because it is such a passion of mine. To me, working is a basic tenet of life. Without it provides food, clothing, and shelter to an individual, and it is such a strong component of who you are and a lot of people, how they identify themselves. And it brings a level of confidence and joy to people's lives. So my goal in life is, as long as there's that running theme of helping people either secure a job or maintain a job and be happy at work, I have such fulfillment, and I enjoy really hearing the success stories of my clients being placed at a job and really doing very well at work. To me, that's really the goal of psychology and helping people out. Tamar, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I mean, Paulina did a great job, but hi, everyone. Wonderful to be talking to you today. My name is Tamar Hoffer. I'm currently a director of career placement at Columbia University. I also work independently with organizations and individuals on career and organizational development issues. Super excited to be talking about the social media component of today because, as Paulina mentioned, that is the area where I conducted my PhD research. And similar to Karen, started off my career in human resources in a variety of industries.
Thank you, Tamar. Okay, so let's get started. Why are we here today? What is the purpose? Why are you interested in branding? Why is self-branding important? Point number one, self-branding differentiates you from your competitor. So there's this marketing term called unique selling proposition, a USP. What makes you different? And I know there's all this talk now, are you unique? Are you not unique? What is the story out there? I truly believe everybody is unique. You have a unique combination of skills that makes you better at certain jobs than other people. And you need to identify that. Control how others perceive you. When you first meet somebody, or even before you meet somebody, as Tamar will show you on the social media portion of things, you want to control the situation. You want to be the one to tell them, hey, this is who I am. You want to make sure that you put your best foot forward instead of them trying to figure out who you are. Also, self-branding engages your target audience without seeming self-promotional or obnoxious. I think the hardest part about meeting somebody for the first time, especially in a networking situation or in an interview, is how to really promote the work that you do and why you're appropriate for the job or a good person, if you're an independent consultant, to hire for the position without, seeming kind of salesy. So hopefully this, I'm going to take you through an exercise that will hopefully take the salesiness out of it, but still highlight why you're good for a role. Also, it keeps you memorable. It's not the usual, hi, here's a fact one, boring fact two, typical fact three about me. It makes you a little bit more exciting. So when you do go to a networking event, they say, oh yeah, I remember her, or I remember him. That was the person that really is passionate about the work that they do, and that's why I want to hire them, or that's why I want to work more with them. They also seem kind of more fun, right? When I, working that late night, hey, I'd rather kind of hang out with that person that was a little bit more memorable. A strong brand, which is also not on this, is that I'm not sure exactly where everybody on the phone today is coming from, but if you are in the midst of a career change, or you kind of have a spectrum of work that you're interested in, as in not a very clear goal. It's not as though, oh, well, I'm an accountant and I want to become an accountant. It's more of, well, and kind of like using myself as an example, I'm an organizational psychologist. I do career work primarily, one-on-one, but I also like to do, professional communications work on site with different companies. How do I brand myself so that people understand, who I am and how I can help them? So a strong brand is really more important for somebody with multiple interests, because you need to connect your story. You are the ones who make sure that the narrative is written in a way that's easily comprehensible for the person that you're working with. So let's get started. Let's create your brand. I know this is a meaty slide, so as you're kind of taking it all in, the method that I like to use is from a book called You Are a Brand by Catherine Caputa. It is not a new book. It's been out there since probably 2006, 2007, but I really enjoy and appreciate the method that she uses to help somebody create their own brand. So the way that she does it is, she was in marketing, and she said, we're so good at marketing our products. For example, Pepsi, we're so good at selling a soda. I used to work at Pepsi, so I have to default to that. But we're so good at marketing our chips, our tortilla chips at Frito-Lay. We're so good at doing all of that. What about ourselves? Aren't we the most important brand out there? Marketing yourself. Again, without seeming salesy. So she said, hey, we do this to products, let's do this to you. And that's called the SWOT analysis. It's short for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And if you see, that's how this chart is broken down. And what this does, it has you take stock of who you are as a person. It helps you figure out how you fit in the career landscape, and allows you to put together allows you to figure out, well, what do I need to highlight and what is important? So let's start with strengths. So over here, I write so we have, positive factors on the left, negative factors on the right, and then broken down into internal factors, which is basically within you, versus external factors, which are out of your control and on the outside. So the first side is positive internal factors are your strengths, and this is really the meat of what your brand is. These are personal areas to highlight, include different skills, experience, accomplishments, different personality traits, and more. So anything, and the key to this one is anything that you are really good at, that other people compliment you on, that's probably what you want to highlight. So for some people, it's their, depending on what the job is, also great organizational skills, your computational ability. I work as an instructor at through Tamar's program for the engineering students, and some of them, it doesn't matter kind of on the social sky, they can be very funny, good to be around, but at the end of the day, it's their computational ability for some of these finance jobs that's what's really the most important. So it's really about highlighting that for them. It's about saying, hey, yeah, I am the best in my class, or I am, really, really good. You throw those numbers at me and I'll get them done. However, if the job you're looking to do is not focused on math, that's not even though that may be something you're really strong at, that's not necessarily the thing that you want to highlight. So what you really need to do is kind of take stock of who you are. Ask friends, ask family members, like, I'm doing this analysis, like, what do you think? What are my greatest strengths? And take time to figure that out. And it may be in multiple sittings that you really figure that one out too. Next up, we have your weaknesses. I'm not going to focus on this because for your brand, it is good to know what your weakness is, and a weakness is, personal areas to avoid. I say that excludes communication and networking skills. As somebody who is trying to get a job, and in the workplace, communication and networking skills are acquired skills. You may not be good at that, but you can work at that. And I work on communication skills all the time with people. You can get better. You'll be surprised, even the worst. So if any of you are on the phone, there is hope for you. And you can overcome that fear of networking too. Even introverts, there are definitely methods for introverts, which are, people who really like to avoid kind of larger social situations. They don't prefer being there. So you want to be aware of your weaknesses, because if you are pursuing a career where the main job itself is something that you are not good at, you don't want to pursue that. And you may have already ruled that out. But for those of you who are still kind of searching for what that next career move is, you want to think about that. So I wrote quantum physics. That's something I know I am never going to be good at. So it's, I know that unfortunately one day I will not help NASA get an astronaut, to a new planet. Even though I would love to be a part of that, I can do it in other ways. Not through the mathematical calculations, or it's just a non-preference. For example, English literature. It may not be the most, you may be fine at it, it may be good for you to do, but you don't necessarily, if you're a teacher, want to teach English if that's just not something that you truly enjoy. Something to think about. Okay, going now to the external factors, opportunities. So these are positive things that are going out there. So we are presented, opportunities are presented by the environment. What external factors can you take advantage of? And what I need you to really think about is, it's not always that it's a positive external factor that you're taking advantage of. It could also have, different things can be seen as an advantage. So I wrote a bad economy or drought. So I'm going to focus on drought because now that I live out in California, I've really appreciated the idea of, the problem of a drought and how is there opportunity within that. And in this case, an idea of drip irrigation was created so that instead of using large amounts of water to water, plants and gardens to keep, trees and grass alive, now there is a way to kind of reclaim, reclaim the water and distribute it more effectively, using less water, yet still accomplishing the same goal of saving the plants and trees. So think about your external environment and the career that you're going into. What would make it a good time for you to pursue what you're pursuing? And then threats. Threats arise when conditions in your external environment jeopardize your brand. So examples are war, oil resources. I know it's really controversial, but the new election is going to come with new legislation. Is that a threat or is that an opportunity for you? Because I know if you're in the medical field, there might be changes to some of insurance coverage, for example. So you just have to be aware of the world around you and really think about how you want to position yourself. So let's create the pitch. So I don't necessarily expect that you should, in the short time that I just went over this, have an answer about how to your strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats. But once you get that down, and from what I understand, Paulina is going to put this seminar, I think, as a link on the website, or somehow we're going to have access to it. Paulina will let us know. So you will have access to these slides again and the session. But once you figured out your SWOT analysis, you want to put together your personal pitch. Because first impressions, as it says here, can make or break your chances of getting a job. So you have the opportunity, a 30-second narrative that positions you and dramatizes your benefit to a company. In the past, it was called an elevator pitch because the idea was if you get stuck in an elevator with a CEO, be prepared to kind of sell yourself, and it takes about 30 seconds for that opportunity. So you want to think about, what are your hooks? What are your connections, your stories that will make you more memorable? So if you notice, when I introduced myself at the beginning, I didn't say, I mean, Paulina was kind enough to give you kind of facts about me, but even if she didn't, I wasn't going to introduce myself with, hi, my name is Karen. I have my degree in this, my degree in that. Again, the kind of standard introduction that you want to know to place me, in kind of your category of, am I interested in speaking to her or not? I tried to give you a more of the passion side of me, more of, I love doing this because I really do love once somebody gets a job. To me, that's a kind of a form of therapy, is really helping somebody who doesn't know how to get a career, be placed in a career. So hopefully you remember that versus kind of the other facts about me. So here's the exercise that you want to do. So how do we get to creating that 30-second pitch? The way that you do that is you identify your hook. What's your hook? So it's like fishing, which I've never done personally, but your hook is, when the hook catches the fish. The fish is the person you're talking to. So you really want to catch that fish and reel them in. So different themes that you can think of are these, like, rags to riches stories. And the stuff that I'm saying is very dramatic, but you start very dramatic and then you kind of tame your story down to create something that's not very salesman-y, but still interesting. So rags to riches, which is, this is great for, let's say, for example, a teacher or anybody else who's interested in the startup world, how you kind of scrambled your resources together to create something. Or even if you're selling a product, or you're working kind of a product area, you want to join a company, you say, well, in our department, we didn't have, basically with no budget, I took the initiative and I got this project together. Talk about, and it was successful and implemented, and the results were this. That's a really exciting story, a turning point, a turning point. Oprah calls it your aha moment. You were doing, for people who are in a career change right now, I was doing this, I kept on doing it, and I said, in my head there had to be something more than this. A story of I know is I know a physician, and he was doing his job day in and day out, and he just saw so many inefficiencies in the method of how they were treating patients. He said, you know what? We need to introduce more modern technology into this. So he said, I'm going to dedicate my life to, I can help, and in a way, he's like, I can help more patients by integrating modern technology into the hospital system versus just being a physician every day. So that was his turning point, where he is now going into, updating the medical field. And then there's against all odds. So against all odds is, everything tried to push me down, but I still knew that this is the right job for me, so right career for me. So even though everybody said, no, it's not a good idea, even though they said, your product will fail, I still tried and tried and tried and tried and tried, and it worked. Or hero to my client, and that's kind of more similar to my story and that's great for kind of customer service, kind of a consulting a consulting situation, just talking about how you kind of like save the day, to put it that way. So what you need, so thinking of those stories, you then kind of complete the following statements about yourself to get your story across. And there are more statements on the next slide, but the idea of, I'm a cross between, blank and blank. I'm like blank meets blank. I had a student in the engineering school who said, I'm like East meets West. There's a strong Chinese population in the program. And I said, okay, it's like, tell me more. What does that mean? I'm like, East meets West. Well, they said China, and these are finance students, China is an emerging market. The United States is working hard to get into that market. However, there's such strong cultural differences between the two, it's not necessarily so easy to break in. I understand Chinese culture. I understand the ways and the methods of how business works over there. I've interned there. I've worked there. At the same time, I've went to school. I've been in this program. I've been in the United States. I understand the differences between the two. You want to hire me because I can bridge the gap and really create a strong connection between the two. It's like, that sounds, I'm like, great, you did it. Like, that sounds wonderful. So think about what is your elevator pitch, and draft a 30-second version of that. And the next slide is just a bunch of more memorable phrases, which are, my job title says whatever, but in reality I am. True story. So I used to work at Martha Stewart doing training and development over there, and I also did recruiting for them. And I mean, the line that would have worked for me for that job was, if I were a famous person, I would be. And they asked me that. They kind of said, describe yourself. And I said, my friends describe me as Martha Stewart. So this is, I'm so excited to be here today because, I love the work that she does in the crafts. And I think I like to build things from the ground up and, basically with nothing and create something. Same, for my training programs, I really like to do customized training. I think this would be a wonderful opportunity here. And in the recruiting program, I like to take, I would love to kind of create structure to this kind of chaos that you have over here. And I got the job. And then I found out afterwards that as I was a recruiter myself, that a lot of the people who ended up in the company were people who said, my friends call me like the Martha Stewart of the bunch. There was some truth to that and some kind of theme to that. So that being said, in an interest of time, I want you to conduct your SWOT analysis, when you have your chance at home, using kind of the basic parts of kind of analyzing yourself, thinking about a compelling, type of way to tell your story, and then putting it in a concise 30-second or less presentation and practice it. And I find that, you kind of practice it big and then tone it down. For some of you kind of like bigger people out there, louder people out there, some of you may need to kind of boost it up a little bit. But the best way to figure out how to do that is really be true to yourself. Make sure that you are really doing the analysis and saying who you truly are, taking the job in mind so that you hit on the right points. But don't just put your brand together as a person who you think the job wants you to be, but you aren't necessarily that person, because then that's when your brand falls flat, and easily people will find inconsistencies and it just doesn't work. So think about who you really are that connects with the job. I want please complete the analysis and speech in multiple sittings. And the reason is because I find that the best speeches really kind of develop layer upon layer upon layer. Run through your analysis speech with a trusted friend or mentor. Trusted friend or mentor are those people in life who will give you the real lowdown. So you do your speech with them and then they say, yeah, that was really, really good. I would change X, Y, and Z. Not the people who will just yes you and say that's fine. You want somebody who's really going to kind of break it down for you and say, you need to work on that. You do sound a little too salesy over there, or you need to work on that because that just really falls flat and it's not working for me. It's not very compelling. A mentor is also kind of good because they might know the industry that you're going into, and they might say, well, you're really off base with what you're highlighting. These are other skills that you're really good at that kind of fit the career more. You want to revisit your analysis quarterly. You want to change your strategy and brand as the marketplace changes. So if you took external factors into account, which I hope you did, you want to make sure that you're staying current. So you want to make sure that kind of your topic is kind of still needed in the industry. Otherwise, you're off base and you're not really that interesting to be hired. And you want to be consistent online and in person. So whatever brand you create, you want to kind of stick with that brand, and you will have an easy time sticking to it because it's truly who you are. And with that being said, I'm going to switch over now to Tamar to really kind of take over how to create the best online brand that you can. So Tamar?
Thank you, Karen. So how do we translate this online? I first thought, although Karen presents such a compelling argument why branding is important, that I would leave you with 3 reasons why particularly an online brand is important. The first is the research backs it up. I'm quoting here a Microsoft study that was done a number of years ago on over 2,000 hiring managers surveyed about their recruitment practices online, and 85% of them said that a positive online reputation influences their hiring decisions. Second, the social media brand really helps with a lot of other stuff that's not traditionally found in a recruitment process, in a job search process. A lot of the stuff that's found in a 30-second elevator pitch even, or a resume, is a little bit more vanilla, a little bit more traditional, whereas once you go and look on an online profile, even on LinkedIn, which I'm going to really focus on over the next few minutes, there's a lot of visual stuff. There's a lot of things that can come across on your personality that can really, boost your persona if controlled and crafted in a positive manner. Finally, just make the assumption that everyone is looking anyway. So you may be Googled, someone might look you up on Facebook if they meet you, if you're actually applying for a job or trying to court a client, they may look up different profiles, whether they decide to hire you or not. So when we make the assumption that everyone's looking, why not use it to our advantage? So how do we create this positive online presence? My recommendation is to ask yourself 5 questions, which should be on our next slide. So we're going to go through the questions. Hopefully your answers may be yes for all of them, and if so, great job. I'll provide you with a few tips, even if the answer is yes, maybe to improve a little bit more. And if for whatever reason any of the areas are ones that you might be answering maybe or not sure, those are definitely the areas that you should examine to better improve your online presence. So the 5 questions are, do you have a professional photo? Are you findable? When people are Googling and looking for you, are they finding you? Do you stand out? So are those keywords and special things and creative things and other stuff easily identifiable on your profile? Are you consistent? Are you the same person if someone meets you, if you apply for a job, or if they look you up online? And are you authentic? Are you actually you? As Karen mentioned, is this sort of the cornerstone to crafting a brand? So the first question, do you have a professional photo? The answer should definitely be yes. Professional photo, best way to define it is you on your best day of work. When I work with students, I tell them, imagine what you would wear on your first day of work. Everyone seems to dress up a little bit more. If you've been working for a while, think about, going into an important meeting, an important pitch, meeting a potential client. So it definitely shouldn't be something that's outdated, especially if, hairstyles have changed, probably something no more than 3 years old. You should look authentically like yourself. LinkedIn research has shown that if you have a photo altogether that is a professional photo, your profile will be reviewed 14 times more than a comparable profile. So that means someone that has the same kind of background as you, education, experience, you'll just get a lot more hits. Professional photos should definitely represent your face. LinkedIn's the easiest one to think of. It should be a headshot. It doesn't have to be professionally taken by a photographer. iPhones are great, but selfies don't look professional, no matter how you shake it. I love backgrounds that are not pure stark white. You often want to avoid that kind of passport mugshot kind of look. Outdoor backgrounds, colorful backgrounds, sometimes even showing yourself in a work context can be very helpful, but not necessary. Background photos are sort of a bonus these days. Facebook and LinkedIn really do give you the opportunity to show a background photo. They can supplement who you are. If people are featured in your background photo, it obviously should include you. Other sort of best practices for using background photos might be word maps demonstrating key skill sets, an action shot of you doing something related to your hobby or your area of interest in the professional sense. LinkedIn, try and keep it more on the professional end. So if you've presented at a conference, if you're, attending something sort of work related and there's an action shot, would definitely sort of keep that in mind. Finally, you should ask yourself if you look happy. Research shows that the best indicator of a potential hiring manager or client sort of saying yes to the deal is, does this look like someone that I want to work with? Do they look friendly? Do they look like they would fit right in? And the most universal sign of happiness is that open mouth smile. It doesn't mean it's essential. If you don't like your teeth, you don't have to have an open mouth smile, but it's certainly really something to keep in mind because it can really only help. Next question, are you findable? So everyone should be Googling themselves, using their name in quotes, sort of just as a basic search to see what comes up about yourself. Ideally, you want your LinkedIn profile to come up. That is the most predominant professional networking site when we talk about social media. As you amp up any other profiles, you'd want those to come up on that, top list of your name as well. One thing to definitely increase search engine optimization when it comes to LinkedIn is to create a unique LinkedIn web address for your profile. This screenshot demonstrates exactly where you would do it on your, you would head into LinkedIn, click on edit your profile, and right below in that top box you'd see a web address. It defaults to something with random letters and numbers, and you definitely want to make it something short and sweet, something with your name. If your name is taken, you can use different abbreviations. The best practice is the shorter the better, so that you can put it in all kinds of different places. You also want to control what is publicly available. So what we know about internet activity is the number of times someone has to click through to find more information, the more likely they are to drop off. So by making certain elements of your LinkedIn profile public, if someone does search for you on a Google or another search engine, and they can immediately see what you look like and what you do and a few other elements, you save them the click-through rate. Now, what they read, which we'll get to in a minute, might convince them to click through, but at a minimum, you're giving them that basic information. Some tips about making yourself a little bit more findable. Once you have that unique LinkedIn URL, add it to everything. Email signature, resume if you're distributing them, business cards, all kinds of social media profiles that you have. The more people click on your URL, actually, the more likely it'll come up higher and higher on that Google search. So don't be shy. If you have a very, very common name, ask friends and family to start clicking on your profile. Email it to them. If your name is also very common or complicated to spell, consider a nickname or a middle initial. If for whatever reason there's just pages and pages of people with the same name as you, you really may want to consider that. Now, we'll get to consistency, it's in a couple questions, but you'll want to make sure if you do decide to use a nickname or a middle initial, that, you use it in person, on a resume, in an email signature as well, so that there's no kind of confusion as to who you are. So the next and probably most important question is, do you stand out? This is really where that SWOT analysis exercise comes through and translates online. So, wanted to share one of my sort of quotes from one of my favorite people that both Karen and I admire in this field. Lindsay Pollack is a former LinkedIn brand ambassador. She is a New York Times bestselling author. You have her Twitter handle as well as her website. And Lindsay came to speak to my students at Columbia, and I thought that this was such a great quote based on all of her work that I wanted to share it with you today. And Lindsay says that your LinkedIn headline is the single most important information about you on the internet. So just to make sure everyone's aware of what the LinkedIn headline is, the next slide shows you the top box of a LinkedIn profile, and number 3 indicates the LinkedIn headline. So the default for LinkedIn users is to have your current position in the headline space. You actually do need to go physically in to edit your profile to alter this. But hopefully after today, all of you will, since it is the most important thing on the internet. So remember, when you indicate what you want people to see publicly, once you finalize this headline, you definitely want to make it publicly available. This is just a sample. It's a career services snapshot, but I love the practice of, instead of writing out full sentences using bullet points or word skill sets separated by dots. Vertical lines are also another way to sort of use this great practice. When your profile comes up on a Google search, someone only usually sees the first 2 lines. You have 3 lines to work with. No reason not to use all 3, but certainly strategize what you want to put on the first 2 lines. So, what do you want to put on the first 2 lines? It should be the key skill sets that you have, are aspiring to do, or just generally what your best sell is. So this is where you are translating that 30-second pitch into something in black and white. The recommended exercise I have for people looking to work through what their headline is to look at 5 to 10 people that have graduated from your degree program at Teachers College that are either working in the field or industry that you're aspiring to go into. There are many, many ways to find alumni from your degree program, but an easy way is to use the alumni tool on LinkedIn. If everyone has Columbia University or Teachers College already incorporated on your profile, the default will be that you will land on a Columbia page and then can narrow down by careers. So pull up those people, look at headlines and titles, and make a list of the keywords to use in your assigned headlines. So the idea is you're utilizing both the exercises that Karen gave you earlier in the session, as well as some of the information that's already available out there online. Next, continuing to focus on the LinkedIn profile, that top box really is the most important selling point. But if you have a really great top box on your LinkedIn profile, the eyes will immediately then proceed down to the next section of LinkedIn, which is the summary, which is probably the most overlooked piece on someone's LinkedIn profile. I think people are just, feeling a little lazy, not sure what to put in there. And so this is what a typical, pretty well-crafted summary should look like, short and sweet. So a few tips on the summary. Certainly keep it simple. Use keywords suggesting your skills, projects, accomplishments. If you're looking to transition to another area, a way to get different ideas if you haven't accomplished these projects yet is to pull up a bunch of job descriptions for the area you're interested and start underlining different themes that you might find in, say, 3 or more job descriptions from that area. I think bullet points are the easiest way to sort of give your pitch, but if you do prefer to write in a paragraph mode, just make sure to break up your text into no more than 3 sentence blocks. Remember that there is fatigue when reading anything, particularly on the internet. Every single time you need to scroll down the page, you may lose the reader a bit. So, do keep that in mind. Finally, the 2 questions I pose to everyone, they're a little bit more thoughtful, are you being consistent across mediums? So this would be in respect to different social media sites. So, LinkedIn, sort of, you're crafting your professional persona. But on some of the other personal networking sites like Facebook and Instagram, are you being the same person throughout? And if there's a little bit of a question, start to pull out what they might be. And if, your Instagram profile was viewed by a potential client, what questions or concerns might they have? Finally, are you authentic? So, there's a lot of talk out there about, not talking about controversial topics on the internet, politics, which, has been very loaded over the past year, religion, all kinds of things. Now, in general, that's still the best practice when we talk about crafting a professional brand. But certainly, you want to make sure you are being yourself. So, whether it's that you aspire to work in a political organization, or you just feel like you would not be able to sort of live with yourself if you didn't engage in these conversations, you should sort of just consider, are you being authentic? So if you are brought into a meeting and someone has viewed your online profile, will they just, be confused about where your opinion lies in certain issues? So, those 2 questions are more for you to sort of examine on yourself, and just make sure that the overall answer, is yes. And I think that that sort of wraps us up today. We'd love to take your questions. I believe we have a few minutes remaining in time.
Great, thank you so much. Please, anyone in the audience, feel free to submit your questions. You should have either a questions box or a chat feature. Please feel free to submit them that way, and we'll make sure our panelists receive them. Since they've been mentioning social media, of course, you may connect to TC alumni via social media, and you can find the links to all of those outlets on our website. It's tc.edu/alumni. Also, as our panelists mentioned, the video of this presentation will be available later and will be shared through an email after the webinar.
Now's your last chance. Any questions about how to craft your brand? Any questions about social media, even beyond what Tamar talked about? She focused on LinkedIn. Any questions about Twitter or any other sort of kind of social media platform, Facebook, how to handle that? Feel free to type in your question and we can answer that.
Okay, it looks like we have a couple questions starting to come in here. Just give me one moment. Okay, and the question that's come in is, as you craft your brand, should you be cognizant of the people you follow?
That's a great question. This is Karen. Tamar, maybe you want to, since social media is your part, I will just give my opinion. Absolutely. You want to make sure that you're incorporating, you're highlighting whose kind of thoughts you agree with. But Tamar, why don't you answer that? Because that's really more the social media side.
Sure. So I think that especially when if you're starting a profile and you are not following too many people, I think that it could be more obvious. I think once you start to follow, hundreds of people, whether it's on Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, it matters a little less in terms of your brand. It matters more on how and where you're getting your information from. But the idea is, I think that you probably want to expand your brand as a professional to follow a larger than average number of people. I think that, even just by a quick judgment, if someone wants to see how many people you're following, if the number, is very, very few, they might just think, well, maybe they're not really informed. And so that's definitely something to consider. Also, one of the benefits of followers when we talk about personal networking sites and professional networking sites are that you can often rely upon old friends, classmates, to sort of bring up job leads or pieces of information for you. And so you probably do want to add people that you may not necessarily be real friends with, but that might just be helpful for you to reconnect with in the professional arena.
Thanks, Tamar. I mean, while we're waiting, if there is another question, I will say that while I was helping a client of mine do some background search on somebody that he was interviewing with, it did come up that the person did follow. They didn't have too many things posted, but in terms of the organizations that they were affiliated with and the people that they followed, my client was able to get a good idea of the views that the person that they were going to interview with had, and kind of said, oh, well, if they're following this person, this person and this person and this person, they said, well, their typical way of thought in our industry is more like this, versus kind of some of these other people. So when I go into the interview, this is more of how I think I want to approach things versus another way. Kind of on the flip side of how you can also use it to look up other people.
Right. So if we have no more questions, we'll just go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you so much, Kerem and Tamar. We really appreciate you taking the time to share your expertise with the TC community. A video of this presentation will be available on our website at tc.edu/alumni/career webinars. On that website, you'll also find more information about our upcoming monthly webinars. Thank you again, Kerem and Tamar, and thank you all for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.